Hey guys, Miss Rivera here. Today we're going to be dividing polynomials by another polynomial. And so if we recall, or I want you to recall, different ways that we divide polynomials. One way is to put everything into factor form. So if we have a quadratic, we put it in factor form and it's being divided by another polynomial that is in factor form. We can cancel out anything that's in the numerator that is also in the denominator, right? Another way to divide polynomials, we can use long division, right? We can use long division to divide any two polynomials. And then lastly, we have synthetic, or another way we have to divide polynomials is synthetic division. These are the three ways that we learned to divide polynomials. And if you recall, synthetic division needs to have or the divisor has to have a leading coefficient of 1 and it be a binomial. So we're going to recall or review some of the different ways to divide polynomials. So for number 1, you ask yourself, can you put these into factor form? Now, right now it's a cubic function, it's a cubic polynomial with a degree 3. So at this point, I don't see any pattern in a way that I can easily factor this out. So then I would say, okay, next, can I use synthetic division? Because most of us like to use synthetic division. It's a little easier. And in this case, what we're dividing by, or our divisor, is 3x plus 1. And if you said, no, we cannot use synthetic division, you're right. We cannot in this case because, yes, this is a binomial, so it does have the two terms. However, the leading coefficient, this piece right here, the leading number in front of x, is 3. And we can't use synthetic division for this one. It has to be a leading coefficient of 1. Okay, so I erased that. So we are going to instead use long division. And so when we use long division, we write our dividend, or what we are dividing, inside the symbol. So we have 6x cubed minus 4x squared. And what's important is when we're writing these out, they have to be in standard form. So actually that I should have asked myself that first. Is 6x cubed minus 4x squared plus 7x plus 3 in standard form? And in this case it is, right? We see the descending exponents. Goes 3, 2, this is a 1, right? And this can be written as x to the 0, which is just 1. Okay, so it is in descending order. I'm going to erase that so that way we don't get confused. But it is in descending order, so it is in standard form. So I can rewrite what I see here. If it was not in standard form, you'd have to rewrite it in standard form. So we have 6x cubed minus 4x squared plus 7x plus 3. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is write our divisor on the outside. So you have 3x plus 1. All right, we are ready to begin our long division. And remember that our result, we're looking for our quotient. All right, so when we're dividing out this polynomial, our results is going to be our quotient. It's going to tell us what is 6x cubed minus 4x squared plus 7x plus 3 divided by 3x plus 1. Okay, so the first thing we take and we look at 6x cubed divided by 3x. So what would 6x cubed divided by 3x result us in? Well, 6 divided by 3 can be reduced or simplified to just 2. So here we would write a 2. It's a little 2 right here. X cubed, I could rewrite this as x times x times x over x, right? In which case, one of my x's cancel out, so I'll have x times x, so that's x squared. And then the next step is to remultiply it. All right, so we don't have to divide out the 1 in this case. We're just going to use that when we're distributing this back. Okay, so now our next step is to multiply. Okay, so our next step is to multiply it out. So 2x squared times 3x, well, that gives us 6x cubed, which is what we expect, or what we want. And then I have to multiply 2x squared times the 1. And that is just a positive 2x squared. And if you recall in class, we said divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, and then repeat the process is our way of remembering how to use long division. So now we've already divided, we multiplied, now we have to subtract the 2. Okay, so 6x cubed minus 6x cubed, 0. And then negative 4x squared minus 2x squared, well, negative minus a going to get more negative, so that is a negative 6x squared. Negative 6x squared. And now you bring down the next term, right? We divided, we multiplied, we subtract. We're bringing down the positive 7x. And so now what's the next step? We're going to repeat. All right, let's repeat this. So we have to redivide. So negative 6x squared divided by 3x. Let's do that. Negative 6x squared divided by 3x. Well, negative divided by a negative is still going to be a negative, so I'm going to put my minus sign up there. Let me put it in red so it stays the same. The 6 divided by 3, right, we can reduce that to 2. And now x squared divided by x. So this just equals negative 2x, right? Negative 2x. I remember this is a 2. All right. And now what's the next step? Yes, we're going to multiply. So 2x times 3x, or negative 2x, don't forget that negative. Negative 2x times negative 3x, negative 2x times a positive 3x is a negative 6x squared. All right, we see ready. We're going to get a 0 here. Now, we're going to multiply negative 2x times 1. Just gives us the same. All right, and now our next step, we're going to subtract. And remember that when you subtract a negative, it's actually a positive. So here, negative 6x squared minus a negative 6x squared, well, that's the same as negative 6x squared plus 6x. It's just 0. Okay. And then over here, positive 7x minus a negative 2x. Well, a negative minus, right? This is going to be positive. So this is going to be a positive 9x. What's our next step? All right, we're going to bring down the 3, the positive 3. And repeat. Okay, so that 0 is no longer important. We're getting ready for our next. I'm just going to erase it out. Okay, so we are at 9x plus 3. Okay, we're repeating. We're going to divide. So 9x divided by 3x. 9x divided by 3x. Well, 9 divided by 3 simplifies to just 3. And x divided by x, they cancel out. We just get 3 as our result. And it is a positive 3. Okay, so let's multiply. 3 times 3x gives us our 9x. And 3 times 1 gives us the positive 3. Our next step is to subtract. And you already see right here what's going on, right? We have our top is the same as our bottom right here. So 9x plus 3 minus 9x plus 3, this is going to give us 0. All right. And so is there anything else for us to do? Not at all. And remember that result at the end is called your remainder. So our remainder is 0. I'm going to just write this as a remainder. Our remainder is 0. So if our remainder is 0, we know that what we divided by is actually a factor of the dividend. So the divisor is a factor of what's under the symbol. Okay, so let's continue and let's see what number 2 is. So for number 2, now for the first one we use long division, and for number 2 we can also use long division if we wanted to, but it would be just easier for us to use synthetic division. So if you recall, in order for us to be able to use synthetic division, has to be a 2-term, it's got to be dividing by a divisor of 2 terms with a leading coefficient of 1. So it's a binomial divisor with a leading coefficient of 1. So this meets that criteria. So our first step, right, we create the symbol for synthetic division, and we look at our leading coefficients because we are going to write them for synthetic division. The other thing is we want to ask ourselves, is this polynomial in standard form? So we see that a to the 4th power is our first term, a to the 3rd power, then it goes a to the 2nd, a to the 1st, and here is a to the 0. So it is in standard form. So we can continue. Remember, we want to look for any missing terms, just in case we need to add in a 0. We want to make sure that they are in order, otherwise we're going to get an incorrect answer. So we write our leading coefficients up here. Our first one is 4. The next one is 8. Then -6, 3, and 4. And if you recall, on the outside of our symbol, right, we take our divisor and we put it to its opposite sign. So instead of a -1, we have a +1 on the outside. And just so we don't get confused, let me erase that positive. And I usually write it as a little hook. All right, first step. Yes, bring down that 4. All right, we brought down the 4. What do we do on the outside? Yes, we multiply. So it's 4 times 4 times 1. Right, we just write 4. And anything in here, we're adding. So 8 plus the 4 is 12. 12 times 1 is 12. -6 plus 12 is 6. 6 times 1 is 6. 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 times 1 is 9. And the 4 plus 9 is 13. And remember that last number represents our remainder. Okay, so just want to double check, right? 4 brought it down. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 plus 8 is 12. 12 times 1 is 12. -6 plus 12 is a +6. 6 times 1 is 6. 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 times 1 is 9. And then adding these two is 13. And so then the end part, this represents our quotient. These are the coefficients of our quotients. Remember, we always take our variable to 1 less degree. So this is 4a to the 3rd power plus 12 a to the 2nd plus 6a plus 9. And lastly, if you remember, we write plus 13 over our divisor. So our divisor is a minus 1. And this is our answer. This is it. This is what we should get. So I just want to remind you guys, when you're doing math, sometimes it's just easier to use the draw tool in Word. So instead of home, I look up here and you see how it says draw. This will allow you to write on the document. So if you have any other questions for me, just send me a message and I'll see if I can help you guys out a little bit more. So you only have 4 more questions to do. Okay, remember this -1, if we want to rewrite it, we can rewrite it as just this top part divided by m plus 4. Okay, all raised to the n plus 4, not that squiggly 4, but n plus 4. All right, so let me know if you need any help. I hope this helps. Take care.